Hello and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Saturday, January 9th, 2021, and today's topic is called Look at the Sky. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening January 6th through the 8th, 2021. And today's topic title is a little different today in that when I was doing the sky observations this time around, this one song kept replaying in my head, and if you know it, it's Kiss of Life by Sade. And a nice line in that song is Look at the Sky, and the next part of it is It's the Color of Love, and that's what the image that you're seeing reminded me of, this beautiful color. That song, by the way, was written by Sade along with Matthew Minhale and Denman and recorded in 1992. So let's get into our sky observations, but before we do, I'd like to say good day, osio, hao, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobroho dnia, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dobry den, aloha winala, galimera, and guten dag. And today's starter image is of some beautiful crystals and stones on a dish made of recycled palm fronds, and some of those crystals came from a very kind Lavender Sky Panther viewer. Thank you so much. You know who you are. Anyway, let's get into the sky observations. I'm going to have the order is not going to be chronological this time. So if you want to know exactly the date and time of the photos, just look in the lower left corner on any given slide. And we're going to start off with an original photo on the left and the enhanced version on the right. And if you are returning to this channel, thank you so much for coming back and being here. And if you're new, a hearty welcome to you. And I just want to let you know, if you are new, when I talk about enhanced photo or enhancements, it simply means I've edited attributes of the photo, such as color, saturation, brightness, contrast, things of that nature, just to draw out or highlight some of the areas of interest on any given photo that we're going to talk about. So let's get going on this one. So this is just called Cloud Activity, Cloaking Objects. So to the left, we have this really strange form. And I put the enhancement on just to see what might be going on. And I do see a little bit of a triangular structure happening in here. And the line continues, very straight, hard line on an angle. And as I've mentioned in other shows, you're going to hear me talking about, let me maybe back up a step. You're going to hear me talking about cloaking objects or craft. And what I mean is that in some other shows I have more specific details and others not so much. It just depends on whatever presents itself in the sky any given week. But we might see things that are looking pretty 3D, like, hard tactile surface that you could even touch of a cloaking craft. And sometimes it looks very interdimensional and ghost-like. So you'll see what I mean more as we get going, if you're not familiar with my formats already. But anyway, in this case, I am calling it cloaking object because we've got geometry, and you'll hear me talking about things whenever they have symmetry, and especially if they're triangular or square or like a rhombus or a pentagon. I mean, it's safe to say that's not a natural element existing in clouds. And so we have to look to that that's some type of advanced tech of some sort, whether it's, ET advanced or military government made or a collaboration, who knows. But you're going to see some examples coming up. Anyway, this was just a very curious form. To me, it looked like, something might have even launched off here because of the way this shape is kind of spiraling up. But anyway, we'll keep looking. This thing was actually a part of a bigger form with the tail coming behind. So we're going to look at that with some more contrast just to see kind of the depth and breadth of this thing. And to me, it very much looks like there's something cloaking in behind this more narrow figure down here. I'll talk about other cloaking craft where you see some of the either plasma or water vapor coming off of some of these things that have suspected, like here, that triangle is still pronounced. Geometric forms happening in it where there could be cloaking craft. There's just a kind of a wispiness, not even wispy, hard to say the word. There's some, just kind of like a dissipated cloud form that comes off these things or sweeps over that just tells you it's cloaking element and not just regular cloud activity. There's more stuff happening also up here as well, but I'm not going to cover it on this particular round. Okay, here's more cloud activity, cloud in quotes, cloaking objects suspected here. So we're going to look at it with some enhancement. And not only, look at this form. It's very direct, very specific, and it's on a sharp angle coming down. And, normal cloud activity, at least of the decades of being on this planet and growing up in this world, the cloud activity always travels in a more horizontal in nature, or at least clustered, but still moving in a horizontal. This thing is on a sharp angle, so right away that's pretty suspect as maybe there's some cloaking craft happening in there, or something is coming and going in our atmosphere. We look down here too, this kind of shadow with a right angle or near right angle on it is happening. And then we look down here at 8.1 and there's a pure white body, and I pretty much say it on every show because it happens on every show, that I catch these things, that when I put contrast on the photo and everything else, turns a color or even gray, it doesn't stay pure white, but then when one little object does, pretty much you can bet that's going to be a cloaking craft or cloaking object of some type, whether it's even a sensor, little vehicle, I don't know. But also I'll capture it, a few frames later, and it'll be in one position and have moved. So in this case at 8.2 is another thing where we do even more enhancement and zooming in, and that thing still holds white, and it even has shadow to it. So I'm calling that definitely some type. I'm calling it cloaking object in this case. That might just be the object, no cloaking, but you know what I mean. All right, similar. This is another frame of part of the same scene, kind of focusing in now more in this area called AA. We still have a little hint of that white object. So here at AA.1, again, that little object is there. We go up to AA.2, it's still there. And in the meantime, this shadow starts to becoming more pronounced. So something is definitely happening or brewing in this area. That we can see it a little bit better with some enhancement on it. And here's just another similar view. It was just such a pretty color. And in this case, I just really blew out in an exaggerated way the enhancement just to see if I could get at what's going on in here. But we just definitely see that this red area clearly has the same consistency. And then something is more like a lighter plasma or something floating over it. And, it just looks like there's some type of cloaking activity happening in here. But see what you think with any of these. This is, again, strange cloud activity, cloud in quotes. Just, this doesn't look like a typical cloud I've ever known on this planet. And then this also has the traces of where it has that consistency of cloaking material. And I've been doing this a couple years now. I've only really seen some of these cloaking objects popping up in the last 6 months or so. But even so, over that time, you just start to get a sense for what seems like cloaking material versus what's just a cloud. Also, these weird, darker outline tracings, smoky tracings in the sky. That's also not anything, that's a regular, or typical cloud that you would know from decades in the past. And these wispy things, become really low too in the atmosphere. That's another new trait of what might be happening lately. So here that shows me that there must be something cloaking in this darker body. And this, I don't know if it's part of some type of cloaking technology and there's object in there, or what else these gray tracings might be. Again, see if you have any thoughts on that. Here's some with some enhancement. So we can just see these tracings better, just really odd. And again, here you got this really dark body, and then you've got, a more smoky-like color here. Also, it looks like it's drawing this way, so like something's coming off of this thing. Hard to say, it's very curious, I wanted to share it with you. This is also another strange cloud, and it looks like, actually in this case, something, is cloaking right in there, or it's about to take off. Been noticing that a lot lately. If you look at other shows that I've done called Rim Watching 2, or something with Cloud Rim in the title, or Rim Watching, you'll see that I'm showing actually very pronounced and direct craft shapes that seem to be springing off either after having been perched on the top of the cloud or emerging out of the side of it. I'm starting to see that a lot, especially in sunrise and sunset hours. So we're going to look at this with some enhancement. And again, there's just something funky going on here. So we've got more vapor, stuff trailing off of here. And we've got some weird little light points, not quite white, but close. So this just tells me there's something cloaking in here. There's another whiter light point over here. Okay, this is a little blurry, but I still wanted to include it for the color range and signatures. Here we go with some enhancement. Look at this. Look at this shape. It's very geometric, very orderly. And it's actually even moving in parallel. And it's not a 45-degree angle, but close. I mean, what is that? That's not normal cloud, formation. And then we have these plumes rising like vertically up. So I really would love to know what was really going on with this. Again, I'll back up. This is the original looking off in the distance. And even though it's fuzzy and light, you just see something is up. So here we go again. And look at this, looks very much like a 3D cube almost, with, something flat happening, some type of rhombus shape on top, like a lid. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but here too we have something more hard, more structure to it. So see what you think is happening there. Here's some other views similar. I'm just going to kind of pan through without too much commentary, but you can just see the very odd nature of this thing. Oh, and pardon if you hear noise in the background. I'm recording outside today, and sometimes neighbors let dogs out and things of that nature, so I hope it's not too annoying. Anyhow, this is another view. Look at this. Anyhow, and then we get something a little bit more solid happening back here behind this mist or cloaking material. So I just still would love to know what that is. If you have any ideas, whether it's anything very factual or just even a fantastical idea of what this thing could be using your imagination, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, here's another view of strange cloud activity. You know, we've got these very wisp-like things, yet they have a structure and order to them, you know, with these longer streaks. And we have this cloud form in the background. So we're going to look at this with some enhancement, and here we go. I have 8.1 up here because there's an imprint, there's an outline of a geometric shape up here where my cursor is, and we're going to be looking at a little object springing out of there too in a minute. And again, just very interesting when we start to put enhancement, because here we have definitely a warm color signature happening, you know, whereas all around it nothing else is. So let's keep looking. We're going to zoom in on that A.1 to now 8.2, and look at this. We've got an angle, very specific angle, and we've got some strange things kind of emerging out of it. So is this all just part of a strange cloaking craft or interdimensional activity, you know, or is this even a portal with something springing out of it? I don't know. Just throwing it out there. And we'll go to 8.3, putting some different enhancement on it. You know, we just see this thing coming out of whatever's happening here. It's very interesting, whatever it is. All right, this is more strange cloud activity. And again, we have to look at this with enhancement to kind of pull more out of it. Again, we have this strange thing down here, which has got to be a cloaking craft in there. And then we have a slight imprint happening here, which looks triangular in form. You know, again, with these bands moving in a very strange angle. When we have these happening too, where my cursor is, these waves, which almost look like electromagnetic waves, but could also just be a form of cloaking for Craft Beyond. See what you think. Okay, here's something interesting too. On the left is the original, the right is the enhanced version. I noticed this trail coming down, and I followed it, and it looked like it was created by something cloaking in here. And then look at this. We have all different movement. You know, we've got like a ring leg shape. We're going to go to the right, you see it better. So we've got this ring leg shape if you follow my cursor, and then this band coming across at another really bizarre angle for being something natural supposedly in the sky. So that's why I'm going to say it's not, that it's Cloaking Craft. I couldn't get too much more detail out of this thing with more enhancements. It's about as good as it gets. But I think you have to agree, it looks like a craft just swooped in down this way and is heading this way, and that's the trail it left behind. But see what you think. All right, here we go, cloud activity. Cloud in quotes with cloaking objects. On the left is the original, 8.1 is the enhanced version. So on A, you know, I just noticed these bands looked a little unusual, and these little raised objects with shadow. And if you look above, excuse me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. If you look above, we have a very different, you know, cloud character, and they're right in the same vicinity. So we look at the right with enhancement, and there you can see some different things happening. Looks like something's starting to form in here interdimensionally, perhaps, or it's there cloaked and transparent. And down here we start to see these clear edges on these ripples, I'll just call it. We have these, if you follow my cursor, they're two rounded elements that look like they're parallel to each other. And then again, looks like more raised elements, with this one being very pronounced. So what the heck? Is this the end of a craft or the beginning of one that's cloaking? To me, there's too much rigidness and detail suggesting that's got to be some type of cloaking craft in there. And here we zoom in to 8.2. Look at that. You know, where my cursor is, it's still bright white. And again, that's always my indicator something is going on with intelligent design that way. When I've put contrast in a photo and everything else behind it turns a solid color or a gray, but yet that stays true in white. We've got other things down here where my cursor is that have dimension and shadow to them. Looks like this too. So is this one craft or multiple craft? And sensors or other objects? You know, I have to believe it's probably all of the above. Literally. Okay, so now we're at cloud activity and cloaking objects. A and B are going to be our areas of interest. And again, what is with this angle coming down at like near 45-degree angles in the sky? Let's check this out with enhancement. And now we get some interesting darker shadow work coming behind. And it just feels like these are, you know, points of objects that are just coming down on angles, swooping in, and maybe popping out in dimension. Look, this interesting trail of stuff happening too behind. See what you think is going on, but to me this clearly looks like it's phasing in and out, or that's just the cloaking type on a craft or object. Okay, here's cloaking activities continued, so we're zooming in on those points of those objects that look like they were coming down in an angle. And now we have B.2 that looks like a circular, you know, this is clearly an ellipse or, disc-like thing. And now we go here. I'm going to stay up at B.3 in the upper left-hand corner and look at, you see the edge of the curve. It's symmetrical. What is that? It looks like it's part of a bigger ship that's very transparent and cloaking, or maybe that's its own animal. I don't know. And then down here, look at this defined line we have here at 8.3. Very interesting stuff. And then we're going to look at it again. So that line, if you follow my cursor on the lower left on the original, is down here. But now we get a reveal of a bigger shadow beyond. So we're going to look to the right at the enhanced version. And again, we got this weird object coming down, or maybe not weird, but just interesting. And then look, this reveals that this is part of something bigger. And to me, come on, that looks like definitely a cloaking craft of some type. And then we're going to look at it even closer. And here's that edge, morphing into this. So it looks like, this clear edge is poking out more, toward the screen. And this is fading beyond. But I'm not sure what's going on, but it is really interesting. Okay, this is another cloud activity cloaking objects. We're going to look at this in the enhanced version right away. And you can just see these are very odd cloud, quote-unquote, patterning for what is here a subtropical or tropical climate. We never get, these are very smooth and belong to a cold air, high altitude climate, in high altitude situation, which we are not there. So I have to believe too, the way the character of this in color and form feels to me like this is a series of cloaking craft. And then we get this strange thing here too, and I'm not sure if that's just a cloaking method or something else. All right, this is called cloud rim launching objects. So in this particular case, we go to A, and we see the profile of this cloud, and then we see something trailing off. And then we see a little point at A, which looks like an object. At the same time, this is alongside something strange happening here in the middle. And to the far left, it looks like there could be something happening here, possibly something cloaking in there. But regardless, how do you get this entire cloud, configuration and consistency on one side of this photo, and then, something that looks quote-unquote more in the vein of a cumulus cloud, although it isn't really a true cumulus cloud here to the right. So just strange. That's why I say there's cloaking activity by the virtue of this looking like it's a craft launching off the cloud edge. Again, something kind of streak popping up here that looks like it has some shadow to it. Anyway, let's take a look at this one. A little closer in, 8.1 is that little thing that I'm calling a craft springing off, launching off the cloud edge. These little fragments too, could be little pieces of craft coming off. And that's something cloaking in here. And here we go. We're going to look at it again with a little more enhancement. These little bits, what is this? See what you think it is. And here we're going to zoom in real close. That's just not a piece of a natural cloud coming off. It's very solid, has texture to it, a little bit of symmetry, like a little lemon shape. So see what you think is going on. All right, this is just very interesting patterning that just literally brewed up out of nowhere, looking to the west, southwest at the sunrise. And then here we go, it's beautiful color signature happening in here, and just very unusual cloud forms, brewing up. And then we have this one, we're still just a little bit later, kind of similar, very, very odd, curious cloud formations, just literally springing up out of nowhere. And I have, this activity also recorded on other shows as well, where there's just like weird spindly towers of billowing cloud stuff, pop up. They're not even cumulus clouds. And then over here to the right, it looks like there's something cloaking back in here, these little bright white points. And it just felt like something was popping up in the atmosphere out of nowhere, and the way it moved overhead felt very strange as well. This one, we got the original on the left side, enhanced version on the right. Just seemed to be a weird imprint happening over here with something in the middle. But what mainly was going on was a triangle at the bottom, an imprint of a triangle. I think you can see that pretty clearly here. And then this is a darker imprint of something happening. So this was just an overall strange combination. And look at the way the top of this triangle truncates. So, it implies that this is a part of a bigger object cutting across here. See what you think is going on, though. Here again, we've got the left-hand side is an original of some strange cloud activity, and on the right, just trying to pull out, see if I could find anything better with enhancement. And in this case, it was just odd how this turns, to bright white, yet this is like a very luminous, bright cyan. And the character, even on the original, doesn't come out too well, but you could just tell there was a different kind of light backlighting all of this, and it felt very much like something was cloaking or arriving. And then here we go, more strange cloud activity. Look at the shape of this thing. That's no known cloud formation. And look at this. How do we get it sweeping and curving hard and then coming to a point and banking out that way. So sorry, I just mid-click changed on you. But now we're going to more enhancement where I take out the color just to see if we could get at any more details. So here this looks like an inverted triangle, a little more solidity to it, or some weird object hiding in there. And then here we start to see some interesting formations of what could be object, like at the end of a pipe or tube, little things hiding off beyond. Gets very interesting. And then here, more strange cloud activity. On the left is the original. The right is enhanced. I really couldn't pull out too much. This starts to look interesting though, like there's some structure in here. What was nice about this one is the sun was coming up and we have some reddish signature and some yellow golden signature down below. And eventually in the sequence of these clouds rolling in, they overtook the entire view toward the sunrise and blotted it out. And here we go again, weird grouping of this cloud activity. We'll just say cloud in quotes and cloaking objects. And again, look at the pairing of this. We have this kind of wisp or air elemental swooping in. I cover air elementals on a previous show if you want to have a look there. And look at this kind of, it's what I like to call staccato cloud, but it's not even. What do you call something like this? This weird patterning and things coming in at different angles. So the blurred stuff, usually when it's really choppy and fuzzy, I call it staccato cloud. I like to coin that phrase. But in this case, it's not even that. So I got to say this has got to be something cloaking that looks like an ellipse or a pointed ellipse there. Just so strange. Anyhow, we'll look at it with some enhancement so you can see a little bit more what I'm talking about. Look at this patterning. It looks like a bas relief, in here and in here a little bit. So it's very interesting. And I didn't mention it earlier, but when you're looking at any of these photos, there's going to be far more going on in them than I can even call out for the purposes of keeping a nice tight show, hopefully, on this one. A good time frame, running time. But if you do see something interesting that I missed, just call it out in the comment section below. Something I missed that you'd like to see, and I'll put enhancement on it and cover it in a future show. All right, in the meantime, I'd like to close on the photo of the week. This just says Jedi, but it also could be Jedi, so it depends on how you want to read it, as being a Galactic Knight or Thursday in Creole. So which do you prefer? I'm going with Galactic Knight right now because we sure could use a boost from above to help us, get this world on track. I know it's going to come from us, but it's a little tongue-in-cheek joke there. But any help we can get that's of positive mind, high vibration, is welcomed. So anyway, I'm going to end on this little quote, "Luminous beings are we," by Yoda, which is true, so remember that. Keep heart-centered, and definitely this is a time to boost up the love and let the light shine from within. So thank you for being here a while. I wish you all a beautiful weekend still and an even better week coming up. And best wishes and peace to everybody. Lavender Sky Panther, bye.